Hello, my pretty awkward people. I am pumped about this episode because I love telling the story and taking you back and just sharing my mentorship journey, all the investments that I've made over the last 6 years, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I am going to get really honest with you. I'm going to share what was great, what my experience was, why I needed what, and what I wish I would have done differently, those kinds of things. So it's going to be a really fun, wild ride. Okay, so I want to start before I dive into the first investment, which was 6 years ago, the first investment outside of my network marketing company. I want to dive into two specific points. One is that I see a lot of people either wait to invest when they really needed help sooner and could have grown so much faster. They wait and they try to do it on their own for a very long time. And I did that. I did that for, I would say, 6 months to 8 months, maybe a little longer. And when I say I did it on my own, I didn't really do much. And that's when I was like, okay, we need help. We need help. So that happens and I get it because I've been there. Or number two is I actually see people invest at too high a level too quickly, thinking it'll catapult them when it really just stresses them. Meaning someone invests in a high level mastermind and they're paying thousands and thousands a month when they've barely hit 5K month, right? So I'm going to talk about both of those. I think it's a juicy one. So get out your tea and get ready to spill a little. Okay. Sorry. I'm in a mood. Okay. Let's dive in. First investment I made back in 2017. Oh my gosh. So long ago. I think it was July. I joined a 3-month group coaching program and it was $6,000 for 3 months, $2,000 a month. No one-on-one coaching. And I'm not saying this to be like, that's ridiculous. I'm saying it to put into perspective how different the space has become. I know there's still programs out there that price, and there's nothing wrong with it. I got so much out of it. And I ended up coaching for that program. It ended up being such a jumping off point for me. And it was such an amazing investment for me. It really was. It's why I'm so passionate about my group program, which, shameless plug, is in launch until tomorrow at $500 off. It really was, because I know how powerful these kinds of programs can be when you're in those first few years. You're learning a lot of these foundational things. I don't think you need to spend money on a one-on-one coach and invest at that high of a level. But this program was pretty pricey, right? And so I was like, wow, this is a big investment. I'm terrified. But again, like I said, I had been going at it on my own for 6 to 8 months and nothing was happening. And for me, I was transitioning from network marketing to my own business. And what I found was I just really wasn't letting go of network marketing and I needed to go all in on my own. And until I joined this program, I didn't do that. And so it was so powerful. I learned a lot. I learned a lot of what I already knew. I already knew a lot of the concepts, but I didn't join. I joined going, you know what? Sure. Quote unquote, a lot of these concepts, but this knowledge is not making you take action or making you have results. So obviously it's not enough. And that's the biggest thing I want you to think of when you're making investments is more knowledge necessarily what you need, right? Maybe in certain instances, if you're getting a self-paced course for a very specific skill, but is it a skill you need? I find more often than not, we think we just need more knowledge, more tactics, when really we need to implement and we need coaching and we need support and accountability as we're working and navigating through that. And that's really what we do inside my program. And that's really what I got in this. So I got a lot of hands-on coaching. I met some of my now closest friends to this day from that program, which is wild. Lots of clients came from that program for me because I coached inside of it. And I was a star student, if you will. I did really well. I was an example. I was one of their testimonials for sure. And so I actually had a lot of people reaching out for help. And I started my business coaching business behind the scenes because of that, because I had a lot of people reach out and want help. And I signed a ton of one-on-one clients from my time there. So that was my first investment. It was a big one. It was twice the amount of my group program, but as far as price, and 1 month less and no one-on-one, but it was so incredible. It really changed the game for me. And so that was the first one. And I was like, let's go all in. And again, I avoided it for quite some time, but fun fact, I was reading You Are a Badass at Making Money, that book by Jen Sincero. And I was reading it and I had said no. I originally said no to this program a month before. And then I was reading this book and there was every chapter there's homework. And one of the homeworks where it was make an investment. Literally, it was make an investment that scares you. And I was like, okay, here's that sign. I got to do it. And so I decided right then and there, I was like, this is it. I have to do this. Like, this is my sign. And so I did. And I made that investment right after I read that book about, I think it was maybe 2 months after I said no. And so that just shows you, I said no. I said, no, it's too much money, all this stuff. I had the money. I could make it happen, but it was terrifying. I'd never invested in my business before. I was like, I don't need to invest in my business. This is ridiculous. I know this stuff. And so again, 2 more months of not really having much traction, not knowing what's not working and not having community and support and giving up. Like it just hit a point where I was like, obviously I don't know something or I don't have the support and there is something missing here. And I know I need that. And that community was everything. So that was the first one. After that, that was 3 months. I graduated and I was making consistent 5K months. And I pretty quickly invested in a one-on-one coach and it was $2,500 a month. So half of my income was going towards a one-on-one coach. And I was with that coach. I'm forgetting the amount of time right now. The timeline this was 2017. I believe I was with that coach for like about 6 months till 2018. And then I signed up with another one-on-one coach in 2018 that actually referred me to that coach, which is funny. And we worked together. So most of 2018, I had a one-on-one coach. And then at the end of 2018, I was booked out with my one-on-one coaching. I had gone full-time into business coaching. My income was consistent 10K months. I, again, was booked out fully with one-on-ones, couldn't take any more. I was like max. And at the end of the year, I launched my first group program, which is now Smart Online Success Accelerator. And at the time it was called Client Attraction University. And I launched my first group program and we had 30 people sign up the first round. It was like wild. It was amazing. Now the price was very different than it is now. It was my beta round for sure, but it was just so wild to me. I was like, oh my gosh, slam dunk. And I did a free challenge. I launched into it. That soon became a free challenge course that I have. And it was just so incredible. And this coach and investing in a sales page too, I think that gave me a lot of confidence. That was really huge. So that's something else that I started to invest in. I invested in a copywriter and no, did I invest in a copywriter for this one? Yes, I did. And a designer for my sales page so that I could feel really confident with the launch. So I did spend a little bit of money on it, but it ended up being a 20K launch, which was incredible and my biggest month. And at the end of the year, I invested in my first mastermind and it was actually a really small, it was just me and one other person. So it wasn't like a full mastermind. It ended up being a little bit more like one-on-one hybrid, but that was a huge investment. That was 15,000 or 20,000. I'm forgetting now. You would think I would remember this. I think it was 20,000 for 6 months. So it wasn't super, super long, but it was again, a hybrid of one-on-one. I got one-on-one calls every single month. We had an incredible retreat, like all of that. And I really skyrocketed because I was like, if I'm investing this much, I'm making it back the next month. And I did. And so I say this because I think a lot of times when people make investments, they go into the program going, okay, now this coach is going to give me this gold, this magic sauce, and that everything's going to be like the second I turn over the money, I have the secret. I didn't have any secrets told to me that first month. There wasn't anything like groundbreaking. The thing I needed from this particular mastermind and this particular coach was I needed to not overthink and I needed to take quick, like almost not thinking action in a way. So I didn't overthink, right? Sometimes I tend to do that. And I needed someone who was very direct and a little bit more masculine and very like to the point. And that's what I got. And it was really helpful. And it did so much for me. But like I said, it wasn't like I learned like, oh my God, this strategy I didn't know. I'd been in business for so many years at that point. Gosh, that was 2019. I had been in business since 2012. Like I learned a thing or two over those years from my network marketing company and then starting this other business. So it's not like I learned any groundbreaking strategy in that first month when I made my whole investment back. It was the sheer act of investing. When I like literally so much of my savings transferred into that account, left my account, and I saw that number go down by $20,000. I was like, okay, we're going in. And I went in, I started showing up so much more boldly. I started selling different things. I sold the course. I created a whole course that is the reason I had that great launch. I created the strategy on it. I sold that. That did really well. Like I just started to go bigger, go home. I raised my rates almost immediately, which I should have raised so long ago. And so I made that back. And this is what happens. I literally have clients who will invest in my programs before they even have their first call. They will sign high ticket clients. They will make their money back. They will, and I didn't do anything with them. Right? I'm not taking any of the credit because I literally didn't coach them yet. They just joined the program. That's how powerful investing can be, is like it activates you. It makes you go, okay, I said I was going to do this thing and I need to now because I just forked over all this income. It's time to stop playing small. It's time to stop sitting in my fear. And that's really what activated that. And then that year in June, I re-signed into a higher level mastermind with the same person for a year. And that was a $50,000 investment. And I paid it in full. And that was probably one of the coolest moments of my business career, because I was like, wow, here I am. I'm like going to get emotional right now. This is so crazy. This is kind of fun going back. Gosh, like I was a cocktail waitress, you guys. Like I came from a family that I never wanted for anything, meaning I always had a roof over my head. I always had clothes and I always had food on the table, right? Like it was very taken care of, but we didn't have fancy things. We didn't have nice things. I didn't get, I could go to the mall and get, hey, here's some money, honey, go have fun. I had some friends who were able to do that. My parents didn't give me that extra spending money. Like there was none of that. I worked at Cold Stone. I worked at the Hallmark store. Like any extra money I had to work for, but I was so blessed and grateful. I know how amazingly blessed I am to have had that security, but we never had anything extra to like go, be lavish with or anything like that. And I knew, like, especially where I'm from Long Island, New York, it's not a cheap place to live. And so even with my mom making a good income and then my dad starting his business, it was tight. And I always grew up hearing money doesn't grow on trees. You have to work hard to make money. Like that was so ingrained in me. And I had to really do a lot of deconditioning with that, because it's not the best mindset to come into your online business with in that scarcity. And I had so much of that, which is why that first investment that was $6,000, I had it. But I was like, no, I can't. I have to hold on to it for a rainy day. I don't know. I just was like, you never know. Something could happen. That was always my mindset, is you never know. Something could happen. Something could happen. I need this money. And I'm like, yeah, something could happen. I can invest it and make a ton more. That's what could happen. And that is what happened. But I had to do a lot of money mindset work. I was reading the You're About Us and Making Money, which really helped me undo that. And I'm like, I cannot imagine where I would be right now, because I invested $50,000 is what more than I was making at my cocktail waitressing job in a year. Let me tell you that. Or maybe around, I was actually doing pretty well for a cocktail waitress. I can't lie, but it was maybe making that. And I invested that in one fell swoop, went right into my coach's account. And that was such a powerhouse moment. That was June 2019, August. It was either August, I think it was August or September that year. I had my first 100K cash month. So I more than made that investment back. I doubled that investment. And I'm sharing these numbers not to be like, you have to invest at this much to make this much. I don't believe that. Honestly, I'm in a mastermind now that is a lot less than that, a lot less than that. It's like half that price. And I'm years later, right? So I don't believe you have to continually like always have to invest more. I think there's a time and a place, right? And that was that time and a place for me. I knew that I was ready to get activated, and me investing more did activate me. So that was huge for me. That was so huge. And I just was on a roll. I was like so on a roll. It was just wild. And so that was my next investment. And in addition, of course, during this time, I had hired my first VA and then my OBM. And then I was working with designers and copywriters, and I hired a PR agency. And before you knew it, because I started making a lot of money, like every single month, I was bringing in 80 to 100K cash months. I was spending a lot of money. And I kind of got into this rat race of I have to spend to grow. And before you knew it, I was like, whoa, okay, I need to slow down a little bit, because a lot of stuff happened with my marriage. If you know my story, we separated, we got back together in 2020. And I realized by the end of 2020, I was like, I can't keep this going. Something's got to give, because while I was making a lot of money, it was all hands-on coaching. So it required a lot of me. And I knew I wanted a family. And I knew I wanted to prioritize my marriage, and I knew I couldn't keep doing it. So I was like, okay, I'm going to step back. Now at this point, I fast forwarded to June 2020, my husband and I reunite. that mastermind ends. And instead of investing, also I forgot about this. In 2020, I invested in a one-on-one coach as well. So I had a mastermind and a one-on-one coach at the same time, which is pretty common. And my mastermind was already paid for, right, in that one payment. So I wasn't making any monthly payments. And then the one-on-one coach, I was paying monthly. And it was more of a business, spiritual embodiment type of coaching than like strategy. And I paid that $2,500 a month from January 2020 through like November, maybe February 2020, like November. I think like October, November, we ended. And during that time, let me get to this. Why, Megan, why did you invest in that one-on-one coach? I invested in that one-on-one coach because while I loved the mastermind and was getting so much out of it, I was like really wanting some more deep spiritual work. I wanted to work on embodiment and things like that. And I just trusted this person too. And so I did that. And then I made the worst investment of my career to date, probably ever. I hope I never make this mistake again. And my next step was funnels. Who doesn't want a funnel, right? And I wanted to start selling on repeat and in my sleep. And I didn't want to have to be showing up all the time. I wanted it to be all happening behind the scenes and blah, 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 all that jazz. And I was between two people. One person I didn't even really interview. It was recommended from a friend who I should have gone with first. And the other was recommended from a mentor. And so I thought, oh, well, this will be a slam dunk. This is recommended from my mentor. It wasn't a slam dunk, my friends. I'm not going to go into it because I've shared this story before. You can go back in the archives and find my worst investment, but I invested $18,500 paid in full for this funnel service for this guy he's like a really great salesman. He had this like beautiful presentation. He was basically predicting I would make $2 million that year in all these different ways. And it was like so impressive. And that should have been a red flag because I didn't ask for that. That wasn't my goal. My goal was way less than that. And I was like, oh, we can do that. And it was like, sometimes when people present things as too good to be true, they are. And that was one of those situations. And that was the beginning of a really tough season. I'm not going to lie. It was a really big setback for me. Like really big mentally. Like I get like emotional thinking about it because I like think back and I'm like, oh, poor Meg. She was mid-COVID, quarantined in an apartment in Brooklyn by herself, separated from her husband, not sure if when she's going to see him next, not sure when she's going to see her family, all alone, feeling very vulnerable, desperate to stop working so much and still make the same amount because that was so important to me because my identity was so wrapped up in how much money I made. And so I said funnels and I paid this guy and I did a transfer. I didn't do a credit card. I did a transfer and I paid in full. And I don't want to say I regret it because I truly don't like to say I regret anything because even that experience I learned so much from. But when I tell you it set me back, it wasn't even the money. At that point, that was less than my first big investment. Or not my first big one was 6,000, but the 20,000, right? So it wasn't the money. I have this it's a really beautiful belief that was kind of shaken a little bit at points. And my husband is amazing at this. And he's so in this way. And he's always been this way. It's incredible. But so he strengthens this belief for me, but I have this belief that I can always make money and I'm not really worried about it because I really do. And it's just from my experience. I've seen it. Like I can make money. That's what the beautiful thing about online business is. You can create something out of thin air and make money. It's so incredible. It's amazing to me. I'm dumbfounded by it sometimes when I think about what we do. When I really like step back and look from like a third eye view, I'm like, whoa, bird's eye view, third eye view. I'm like, wow, this is crazy what we do and what we get to make money doing and just really doing work we're so passionate about. And it's just incredible. So it wasn't even the money because I wasn't worried about that. I wasn't worried about making it back or anything like that. It was more so the amount of energy and time. So timeline wise, that was April 2020. I made that investment. June 2020, 2 months later, my husband and I got back together. We move into a new apartment. we're working on our stuff. It was not all rainbows and butterflies right away. Let me tell you, there was a few moments there, a few months there where we did not know if we were going to make it. And then we kind of turned a corner and then bought a house together in November. So we joke around that the house was our new marriage. That's really when we were like, we're going at this because now we have property, now we have assets. And then we threw my puppy in, gosh, how much later? We got her the following May. Now we're stuck. No, we're happy. We're happily stuck. But it was, it was shaky. So I'm getting screwed over by this guy. My gut is telling me I'm getting screwed over, but I'm ignoring it because I cannot admit that to myself. I am working too much because I'm still wanting to make that amount of money and working. I'm trying to deal with my husband coming back and it's still not feeling like, I don't know if this is it. Like things are better, way better right away, but still, I don't know. I don't know if we can get through this. I don't know if we're meant to do this, blah, 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 all these things. And it was a really tough season. And I remember leaving my office and going into the living room, and my husband was in the living room and he's like, "Hey, honey, I listened to that call. I overheard a lot of it. He's scamming you." He was just like, "You're getting scammed. Like he's lying to you. I know it because I've done it." Now, my husband hasn't scammed anyone. I don't want to put that out there, but he played poker. He plays poker professionally. So he can read a bullshitter because he's been a bullshitter, right? He lies at the table. They all do, right? They're bluffing. And he just reads people really well because he's had his fair share. My sister said in our wedding, in our speech at my wedding, when she gave the best maid of honor speech, she's like, "Mike and his schemes." And it's a joke, like it's a loving joke. He's like the most genuine hearted, incredible man. But he had that way about him in his early 20s, especially. And he's like, "I've been a bullshitter. So I know I can spot it a mile away because I've been it." And I was like, no. He's just like having a hard time. Anyway, he says that, and that really sinks in. And then a few months later, after getting nothing back, I just realized this is never happening. We're never going to do this. I literally wasted $18,000, but more importantly, now it's October. So let's see, April, May, June, July, September, April, May, June, July, August, skipping a month here, Megan. I'm counting on my fingers. September, October, 7 months. Now, my friends, I didn't do much. I filled my mastermind because I always do that. So I filled my mastermind. I had my one-on-ones. I think I might've had like a soft launch for something, but I pulled back a lot because I was like doing all this work for this funnel that never came to fruition. And I was like prepping for all of that to happen. So I was like, oh, I can not do as much, right? I was still coaching a ton. I had 2 masterminds. I had a ton of one-on-one clients. I had a group program. Like I was coaching so many people at once. And it really set me back. And once I fired him and he admitted guilt and he was like, "You're so right. You're going to get a refund." I got $3,000 back. So I got something, I guess. And I was just like burnt. And I share that again, not to be like, it still bugs me. Well, it does a little bit, but it's more so to show you the trajectory and how that really, really set me back emotionally and mentally. And I just felt like so gypped. I was like, I should be so much further. This was supposed to get me to this next level. This was supposed to make me more money. This was supposed to let me not work as much. Like, and my husband and I sat down at the end of the year and had to have a really important discussion and go, "Hey, we are gonna pull back. I'm going to pull back. I'm going to cut a lot." And I did. And I cut a lot of income. And it was terrifying, not only because we got accustomed to a certain income and my team, like I was said before, I was spending a lot, but I just was so wrapped up in that number that I thought, if I don't make that amount, is anyone going to want to work with me? And all these ridiculous, but valid thoughts come through. I have a lot of clients I've coached through this. And I was just like, if that's what it means, and that's what only reason people are hiring me, then I'm doing something wrong. I'm doing something wrong. And my friend, I can tell you, did not affect people hiring me. I can tell you that firsthand. So if anyone out there is listening, I can promise you, because what went on, I went on a journey, I'd say a 2-year journey. I think it was all of 2021 and all of 2022 of really deconditioning that I am how much money I make. My worth is how much money I make, and really having this life first, business second model. And so during this time, I let go of that coach. I obviously fired that guy, and I didn't have anyone. I didn't have any support for a bit because I was just like burned. I was like, I need nothing. I need to go at it my own. So I went at it on my own. Now, this whole time I had a life coach, Mike, and I had a relationship coach. So I still was being coached. I don't think I've ever not been coached in some way, shape, or form since 2017. And so I had that. And then I hired my next funnel person in March or April. I think it was April of 2021. So it took me from September to April to make that. So we're going to do math on our fingers again. August, September, October, November, December, January, February, March, April, about 8 to 9 months, let's say. And he restored my faith. He's amazing. I still work with him on a case-by-case basis, and I absolutely adore him. Referred by a very close friend who I trust, who I should have listened to the first time. And oh man, it was a journey, let me tell you. But I share all this because if you have made bad investments, I get it. I've been there, and I don't want that to stop you forever. Now, it did stop me for 9 months. But it didn't stop me forever, because I know there's amazing people out there. I had amazing people in my life who I've invested in. And I consider myself one of those people that my clients invest in, right? So I wanted to give it a go again, and I did. And I'm so glad I did. But I did invest a little too much in some fancy things, meaning I invested in a full-blown funnel build out that was a ton of money, and Facebook ads that I spent $30,000 on. So I spent about 50 grand just between those two things on this program, plus the sales page, all that. It probably ended up being like $70,000 on a program that I never launched before, that was not developed, that I hadn't workshopped, that I hadn't organically launched. That was my mistake. Now, the program, we ended up signing over 70 people. So it was a slam dunk on the outside. It was a $1,000 program. I basically broke even when you're listening to those numbers, right? That's how much money I spent. The reason, I shouldn't have done any Facebook ads. I should have only used my organic audience, and I should have just tested it out first. I should have waited to probably hire this funnel person until I was using it for a program that was already established, that already was tried and true. I should have used it for my SOSA program. Now, SOSA is a different name now. It used to be a different name, but it was the same thing. I should have used it for that. And so while the person was amazing, the actual timing of it was not right, and that was me in my, oh my God, I got so screwed over. I lost all this money. I lost all this time. I need to catch up. I need to skyrocket. This is going to be it. Let me throw money at the problem. And that's what I did. And while I hired a good person who delivered, I still was throwing money at the problem and just do it for me, just do it for me, just do it for me, versus going, Megan, this is a brand new program. You need to launch it first and figure out what you need to change and tweak. And this is why I personally, for my clients, always recommend live launching first, and not doing it necessarily with ads, or doing it with a very low budget, not $30,000 on ads. What was I thinking? So that was 2021. And remember, I had cut my income a lot. So still making a really great income. I was still making a very good income, but I had cut it a lot. And so I just felt very defeated after that launch. Like, I was so excited because I had all these amazing people. So I felt really guilty because I was like, how dare I have 70 people. Like, what? This is ridiculous. This is a dream. People would dream about this. This is incredible. And so I wanted to be so grateful for that. But at the same time, my profit was almost zero. So it was so disheartening, because at the end of the day, I don't care what my launch numbers are. I don't give a crap. If I could say I've had a 6-figure launch. Yeah, but what was your profit? What did you actually bring to your bank account? Right? That is something that in 2022, I so focused on, and we increased our profit by $100,000 in 2022. So just putting in perspective, when people say all these fancy numbers, you don't know what actually went into making it. And it really rocked me and shook my confidence. And my confidence had been waning since that first investment in the first funnel person, April of 2020. So it was like about a year and a half of like, oh, I just feel like I don't know who I am anymore. I feel like I'm trying all these things. I'm throwing all these things out there. I'm so confused. I'm working on my marriage, like all of this stuff. And I just was like rocked, and I hadn't had a coach. And so that summer, July, I invested in my next coach. So it took me from October, November, when I stopped with the other one, through the July. And I invested in my next coach for 6 months. And it was a beautiful experience. This was someone who was actually a good friend of mine first and foremost. And we were like on calls, and she was like kind of coaching me. And I was like, let's make this official. I need to pay you. That's pretty much what happened. And to this day, she's one of my favorite people and really good friends. And it was an amazing 6 months. And it just so helped me get my confidence back. Like, yeah, we worked on strategy and we worked on some things like that. But I think the biggest thing that we did was like, get my mojo back. Like, you were Megan fucking Yelaney. Like, literally, I would like have to say that and be like, own your shit, right? And this is for everyone. Like, own it. You are your powerful, badass self. Like, own that and get that back. And so that was kind of the start of the rebuild, I think, for me. And then in 2022, so I did that for 6 months. And then in the beginning of 2022, I actually started a self-paced mastermind with 3 of my really good girlfriends. To this day, we still run it. We meet every single month. It's been a year and a half, or not quite a year and a half, but it's been since January of 2022. And I love them, adore them. And it's been amazing. And so I didn't have any support besides my relationship coach for that period of time. And gosh, I'm trying to think. That was the only investments I made in 2022 as far as coaching were individual days. So I hired that same coach for a VIP day in April. I hired another friend and coach for a VIP day. So I did more one-off things. I hired one of my mastermind friends for a session. So I did more one-offs, right? And that was my 2022. And that's what I needed. So this is something else for you to consider. Like, are you in that season of, I need long-term mentorship? I need a mastermind. I need a community. I want them for the year. I want this, like my support really locked and loaded for this amount of time. Or am I in a season of like, I'm implementing, I'm self-motivated, but I need like these little power sessions, or I need this strategy session. That's where I was. I was like, I'm motivated. I don't feel like I need a mastermind. I have myself run one. But I want this strategy session for this thing or that thing. And so that's what I did most of 2022. And then at the end of the year, I joined a mastermind that started in end of January in 2023 this year. And I'm currently in a mastermind because it had been, yes, I'm in a self-run one and I love it, but we don't pay for it. So it's just different when you don't pay for something. And I really was craving these in-person retreats, and this mastermind came with them. And so I was craving that. I really wanted a mastermind again. It had been since since June of 2020, since I had been in one. It'd been so long. It'd been like 2.5 years since I had been in one. And so I was like, that's what I'm really, really craving. And so far, it's only been a few months. It's been amazing. We had a great retreat. I loved it. And the reason I knew I was ready for one is because I've been facilitating masterminds since June 2019, and I just love them. I just love masterminds. I love group programs. I think while I love one-on-one coaching, and there's definitely times and places for them. I'm sure I'll have another one-on-one coach at some point soon. I think for me, knowing the difference was when I was feeling like alone and questioning a lot and wanting people who were at it with me. That's when I felt like I needed a mastermind, because I could hire a one-on-one coach to help me through it and give me the plan and all of that. But like, they're not doing the same thing at the same time. They're not going through it with me. And that's really what I was craving, that community. That's why group programs are so powerful. So if you're in this season of like learning a lot and building foundations, or even if you're getting to your next level and maybe it's not a group program, but it's a mastermind, and you're wanting to be challenged and you're wanting to be around people who are in the thick of it with you, right? Not a coach who's many moons past you, but who are in the thick of it with you. That's when I think masterminds are so powerful. It's why I love running my mastermind. Like, they just add so much value to each other. And it's like having 10 coaches instead of one. It's so beautiful. And the same thing for group, right? The reason I joined that first group program, that was my first investment to get to those consistent 5K months, was because I didn't want to feel so alone. I didn't want to feel so green. I wanted other people who were just as green with me going through it. And it made such a difference in my confidence, And because like when you think you're the only one going through this and you think like something's wrong with you, it knocks your confidence versus, oh, everyone's going through this. Everyone's experiencing this. Okay, this isn't a me thing. This is just how it is. This is just the rite of passage of business, right? It makes it so much more easy, right? It just really, really does. So a couple of things I just want to note during all of this is how I picked the specific mentors, right? And when I pick masterminds, I really think of like the people they'll attract, because while the coach, like my mastermind, yes, I do quarterly one-on-one calls with my mastermind clients, but I have group calls, and the group calls are very much led by the mastermind people. I am doing some hot seat coaching, but everyone is giving their 2 cents and helping out. It's not just the Megan show coaching at you for 2 hours. It's a mastermind. The whole point of a mastermind is to mastermind. So I have incredible people in this mastermind who have so much knowledge, and some of them know things I don't know, right? Like there's plenty of things that they know that I don't know, and they give the value. And I'm like, hey, anyone know this? Like, let's dive in, right? And there's so much power in that. And so that is definitely something I thought when I was investing in this mastermind was, who is this person and what type of person is she going to attract, right? And I just have a lot of similar values as her. We think very similarly in how we treat people and what we value and what's important to us. And that was really important to me. I wanted someone who wasn't so flashy and wasn't so like, yes, the money is important. And of course I want to increase my income, but not at the like sacrifice of myself and my family and my life. And also not to just say it, not to just be like, hey, I've hit this income because I just have to say it to feel worthy. I don't need to hit any income to feel worthy or impress anyone anymore. Maybe I did in the past, but I truly don't. Like, I don't give a shit. Like, I say that with full confidence, and it feels so freaking good to be there because I was not there a few years ago. And this is how she is too. She's not trying to impress anyone. She's like, I'm not here for you. I'm not here for Instagram people to think I'm cool. I'm here to build this incredible legacy for my family, for my future, to have the lifestyle I want to have, to be able to help out family in a pinch, to be able to go on a flight. I'm going to New York kind of last minute. We just booked our flights last minute because we're kind of bad about that. And it didn't matter the price. We could do it. And it's like little things like that they're not little things. They're big things. And that's why I'm doing it. I'm not doing it to tell people that I had this certain launch or I made this amount of money. It's for my life behind the scenes. And that's how she kind of runs. And I love that. And I was like, this is it. This is my person. So when picking a mastermind, really, I think it's important to pick it based on the values of the person, because they're going to attract people like that. And that's what makes a mastermind. It's the people in it, right? That's what makes it so incredible. So that's one tip there. When it comes to picking a one-on-one coach, similarly, values, of course, I think values are always number one. How do they run their business? How do they set up theirs? And also, how do they coach? I definitely recommend asking some of their clients and interviewing them if you can, or not, maybe not formal interview, but just asking questions about the experience, and getting direct feedback from them, because that'll give you some insights. Because even though they might run their business different than you, right? Because you don't have to be a carbon copy. You want to know how they coach other people to get there, right? So asking them their coaching style, asking them some client results they've helped facilitate and the different types of clients that they've had. I actually had an interview with a client. She didn't end up signing. It just wasn't the right time. And I don't think the right fit. But I really liked her, and we just like root each other on, and she just crushed it. And I'll watch her. And one of the things I was so impressed in our interview, she was like asking me about like client wins, like certain things I've helped clients achieve and the different styles and all that. And I was like, I love these questions. These are really good. These are smart questions. What are some results you've helped clients experience? And what was their business model? And what was their life like? How much were they working? Because I could say I help clients hit 100K cash months, but if they're working 24/7 and you've got kids and don't want to work 24/7, you're not going to care. That's not going to matter, because you're not going to do what it took to get there, because that's not important enough to you, right? Like your family is. And there's other ways to make that money. You'll go learn how to make it the other way. So I think that's so, so important. Okay, this is getting long, but I've really been enjoying this, like just going down this rabbit hole. Again, something I just want to leave you with is the thing that I've seen people do. Two things, like I said. One is they invest at too high a level. Like they'll be making $5,000 a month and invest $5,000 a month. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. Everyone's different. Some people get really activated when they're on the line like that, and it actually helps them take action. So if that's you, you'll know yourself. But some people, and I think the majority, myself included, it actually puts them in a state of panic. And it's why my mastermind, there's an income requirement, and it's important. It's important to me because I don't want someone like my mastermind is $1,500 a month or 16,000 pay in full for the year. I do not want anyone joining if they're not making at least $5,000 a month. Most people are making beyond that who are in this mastermind. And the reason is I don't want someone that 1,500 a month to be so like, oh my gosh, it's like if someone's joining and they're making 2,000 a month, that's almost their whole income. I don't think that's the right investment for them. I think they can honestly join my SOSA program and master that and get that to really consistent income before they make that next leap, because it's got to be consistent to feel solid. So that's one thing. But then on the other flip side, I see people again, wait way too long. And they go, I'm going to wait until I'm making a ton of income to invest in this first offer. The truth of the matter is when you're in your first few years of business, especially your first year, you might invest more than you're making because you're making nothing. When I invested in my first business, I literally didn't sign any clients. So I made no money in that business when I was investing. I used my income from my network marketing company. I didn't know what I didn't know. And it's this whole like, we'll invest in college like it's nothing. We'll go into massive debt. People go into so much debt for college with no guarantee of a job. But when it comes to investing in education and support and accountability for our business, it's like, oh, no, I have to wait until I sign all these clients. Well, you won't need the program then if you're signing all these clients and you're feeling super confident, right? That's the whole point. It's the point is to fast track you. And I see people wait and wait and wait. And before you know it, they've waited so long that they've given up and they quit. I know that sounds really like, oh, that's a Debbie Downer, Meg. It's just true. I've seen it. Oh, I've seen it. And I'm like, man, if they only didn't wait, because it's so hard in those first few years to stick it out and do it on your own. It just really is. Is it possible? Totally. Is it likely? No. I'm just being honest. I've seen it. I've been in this industry for more than 10 years now. I've seen so much. And the people who say, hey, I don't know what I don't know, and I know I need to learn it. And I know I need support and accountability. I know I'm not making any money in my business yet, but I am committed to figuring this shit out. And I want to fast track that. I'm going to join this program. And that's what I did. And it was $6,000, right? And so I just see people wait until this arbitrary number or this arbitrary thing to make that first investment. And I just want to challenge you. Think about how much further you can be if you stop saying next time, or once I get to this level. I know sometimes that's, in line, like I said, with my mastermind, it is for someone at a specific level, but in the beginning, you don't know what you don't know. And it's so easy to get so discouraged and quit and just keep repeating the same things over and over again, even though it's not working, right? That's the definition of insanity. And it's so easy to repeat it when you're in the beginning and just throw spaghetti at the wall and all those things, all the cliches that I could say. So this is my, call to you. My Smart Online Success Accelerator program is starting on May 8th, and we are closing the doors on April 25th at a $500 discount. And that's exactly what we do. We help you learn what you don't know. We help you really implement all the business foundation pieces that are essential to building a full-time online business, to really bringing in income that can fully support you. You deserve that. You deserve that accountability. You deserve that support. And you do not have to go it alone. Don't do what I did and wait 6 to 8 months to finally get the help that you could have already had. I could have been so much further. In those 6 to 8 months. And I want you to imagine this is a 16-week program. By the fall, you will be launching and selling your offer on repeat. Like if you really commit, you do the work and you plug in and you get the support and you ask for help when you need it and you show up, your life can be truly different in 16 weeks. And I want you to really, really have that at top of mind if you're considering this program. If you have any questions, shoot me a DM on Instagram at Megan Yelaney, or go to the link in my link in the show notes. I was gonna say link in my bio. This is a podcast, Megan. Go to the link in the show notes where the sales page is. I'll also put my booking link there if you want to book a 20-minute call. We start on May 8th. I am closing card on the 25th. If you're listening to this after and it's before May 8th, you can still message me. And after that, it'll turn into a wait list after May 8th. But I just want you to really think what's possible for these next 16 weeks. I don't want you to keep saying next time, next time, next time. If you keep saying that, right? Question, be like, did I say that last time? Did I say that the time before? If you really want this to be your plan A, B, and C, and you want to go all in, I really believe making this investment is the key to that. All right, my friend, I adore you. I hope this little jog down memory lane helped. I really enjoyed it. Got me a little emotional at points. Hope to see you in SOSA. I've loved all the students who've already enrolled. It's an amazing group. Like, we have just such a quality group of humans. So you're joining a real good crew if you do join us, or I should say when you join us. So I will hope to see you in my DMs, and I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I'll see you in the next one.